Story 1. I thought I had found my soulmate. In a crowded concert with lights flashing and music thundering through the air, our eyes met. I swear, it was like we were destined to be together. An undeniable connection, like nothing I'd ever felt before. But the truth unraveled everything I believed in ways I never imagined. What would you do if the love of your life turned out to be your sibling? Growing up in foster care, I always felt like something was missing. Like a piece of me had been left behind somewhere. I didn't know my real parents, didn't know much about my past. All I had were fragments, memories that didn't quite fit together. But that night at the concert, when I met Michael, it felt like my life finally made sense. The moment our eyes locked, it was instant. This electric connection. I couldn't explain it, but I felt like I'd known him forever. I remember laughing that night, thinking it was crazy how comfortable I felt with a stranger. He felt it too. That weird sense of familiarity, like we had been waiting to find each other. From there, it was fast. We were inseparable. I'd never felt so alive, so seen. We had this bond, something I couldn't describe to anyone. It was just there, natural, perfect. People always commented on how alike we were, how we had the same smile, the same eyes. Even strangers would ask if we were siblings, and we would laugh. No one understood our connection like we did. It was love. Real, raw, and deep. I remember the day Michael proposed. Under the stars, just the two of us. It was the most beautiful moment of my life. I felt like everything I'd been through, all the loneliness, had led me to him. We got married soon after. It was the happiest day of my life. I finally had my person. But those comments about how much we looked alike, they never really went away. People always seemed to notice. At first, it was just a running joke between us. Guess we're meant to be, I'd say with a grin. But as time went on, it started to get to me. What if there was something more to it? I'll never forget the day we decided to get a DNA test. It started off as a joke, something lighthearted. Wouldn't it be funny if we were actually related? I said, laughing. Michael went along with it. We were curious, sure, but we never expected anything serious. When the results came back, I opened the envelope with him by my side. The moment I saw the words, my heart stopped. We were twins. Twins separated at birth. I couldn't breathe. My mind went numb as I tried to process what I was reading. It didn't make sense. How could this be real? But it was. Everything started to click into place. The foster care, the missing pieces of my past. Our parents had separated when we were babies. Our mother took Michael to one state. Our father took me to another. And eventually, they both left us in foster care, in different places, at different times. We had no idea about each other. And then, by some cruel twist of fate, we found each other. We fell in love, not knowing that we were the same blood. I felt sick. I couldn't stop shaking. "What do we do now?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Michael just stared at me, pale and broken, his eyes full of the same pain I was feeling. "I don't know," he whispered back. I was in love with my brother. The one person I thought was my soulmate was my twin. But the worst part? I still loved him. How do you stop loving someone who has become your whole world? How do you just turn off something so powerful, so real? The comments people made about how we looked alike, they weren't funny anymore. They were haunting. The love we had, the life we'd built, all of it suddenly felt wrong. But at the same time, it wasn't. Everything we had shared, the way we felt, it wasn't a lie. But now, with this truth hanging over us, I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know if we could. We're stuck. Stuck between a love that feels so right and a truth that's so wrong. I don't know what's going to happen to us. I don't know if we can pretend this never happened, or if we'll have to walk away from the life we've built together. All I know is that in one moment, everything changed. And now I'm left with a love I can't keep and a truth I can't escape. Story 2. I thought I'd met the one. We were two strangers drawn together in the most unexpected way, like fate had designed our meeting. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. How do you deal with a love that feels so right, only to find out it's the one love you can never have? My name is Claire, and I've always believed in the idea of soulmates, that there's someone out there for each of us waiting to be found. I thought I'd found mine when I met Ethan. It was one of those cliché moments that you never think will happen to you. A rainy day, a busy bookstore, and the last copy of my favorite novel. We both reached for it at the same time. I looked up, and there he was. This guy who felt oddly familiar, like I had known him in another life. He smiled at me, and I felt something I couldn't explain. It wasn't just attraction. It was deeper than that, like a connection that had always been there, waiting to be discovered. We talked for hours that day, completely lost in conversation, and it felt effortless. By the time we exchanged numbers, I already knew this was different from anything I had experienced before. From that moment, Ethan and I were inseparable. It was intense, fast, and real. We just clicked. Everything about him made sense to me, like I had been waiting my whole life to meet him. We had so much in common: our sense of humor, our shared love for books, even our similar childhoods in foster care. It was eerie sometimes how alike we were, but I just chalked it up to fate bringing us together. People around us started to notice too. "You two could be siblings," our friends would joke. Strangers would do double takes, saying we looked like we were related. We'd laugh it off every time, never taking it seriously. We were just a couple who happened to look alike. No big deal, right? But the more we heard it, the more it started to get under my skin. We really did look alike. Same eyes, same smile, even the same laugh. It was strange, but I never let it bother me too much. We were happy, and that's all that mattered. Until one night, I brought it up as a joke. What if we're actually related? I laughed, not thinking anything of it. Ethan laughed too, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of doubt. It was probably nothing, but that joke planted a seed. Eventually, we decided to get a DNA test, just for fun, to see if there was some distant relation we didn't know about. It was supposed to be a silly experiment, something to laugh about later. I mean, what were the odds? When the results came back, I remember opening the email, expecting nothing but a harmless answer. But what I saw, it knocked the air out of me. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, the words blurring in front of me. It couldn't be right. There was no way. We were twins. Not distant cousins, not half-siblings. Twins. Born to the same parents, separated as infants when our mother took me and our father took Ethan. They abandoned us in foster care at different times, in different places, and we had lived our lives not knowing the other even existed. I felt like I was suffocating. Ethan was sitting next to me, and I could barely bring myself to speak. When I finally showed him the results, his face went pale. We both sat there in silence, unable to process what we had just discovered. The love of my life was my brother. I wanted to scream, to cry, to undo everything. This couldn't be happening. How could fate be so cruel? We had spent months building something beautiful, something real, and now it was destroyed by a truth we never saw coming. How do you even begin to wrap your head around that? Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with the same shock, the same horror. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. I didn't have an answer. How could I? I was in love with my own twin brother. It wasn't just some mistake we could laugh off. It was real. We were blood. I knew what we had to do, but I didn't want to face it. How do you walk away from someone who feels like your other half? How do you just stop loving someone because of a truth that you never asked for? The worst part was, the love didn't go away. It didn't just vanish because of a DNA test. We still cared about each other, still felt that pull, that connection. But now, it was all wrong. What once felt fated now felt twisted, like we were part of some cruel joke the universe had played on us. We haven't spoken about what comes next. I don't even know how to begin that conversation. All I know is that everything has changed. The love we shared is tainted by a truth we can't escape. And now I have to figure out how to move forward from this, a love story that was never meant to be.